We have done pre-writing number 1. Then we did pre-writing number 2. Now it's time for pre-writing number 3. 1, 2, 3. Wah-ha-ha-ha. Pre-writing exercises are, as I always say, just exercises to get our brain working. Don't try to write a draft based on this stuff. First, you write the pre-writing, get the mind working. Then once you start to generate ideas, you do the outline point by point, and then you can start drafting. This pre-writing is the journalist questions. It's a good thing that somebody's going to think like a journalist. The reason I have you do pre-writing exercises is because the writing process is a process. It's not just sitting out and blasting out drafts. Nobody actually works that way. I recently spoke to a student who was having real problems with their essay because they kept sitting down to try to write an introduction and they didn't like anything they came up with. Well, that's not how you do it. You may have been able to keep your entire idea in your head at one point in time, but that's not how you can do it now. Because trust me, when you sit down to bash out a paper at the last minute, it looks like you've bashed out a paper at the last minute. Do you remember the punks of yesterday and today? Anyway, this is the pre-writing exercise for the ethics essay, and in this I am going to ask you to think like a journalist. Now, how does a journalist think? You can't craft a story without all of the details. So the initial act of a journalist's job is to gather as much information as humanly possible. Lots of journalists do this largely by speaking to people and asking questions. What kind of questions? Basic questions that are supposed to give you basic information. You know the who, what, when, there, why, which, how many, how kind of questions. Open-ended questions which get people to talk. Now, for this essay, I'm not saying you have to go out and speak to people. You can if you'd like to, but you do have to think like a journalist and ask the journalist questions about your subject. So, the way you are going to do this pre-writing exercise is you're going to open up a screen, get out a sheet of paper, write down the who, what, when, where, why, how questions, and then write about your subject of analysis from the perspective of each of these. When you saw my video explaining how to do the ethics assignment, I gave the specific example of why karaoke is evil. Who? Well, the bar owners are the people who employ the karaoke. This is why they do it. This is what their interest is. What are we talking about specifically? I could describe karaoke in about a paragraph or so. When does this go on? When did it start? Well, karaoke was imported from Japan in 1899, blah, blah, blah. Where does this go? Well, it's getting to an increasingly large number of performance venues because they know they can draw a certain amount of people in with minimal investment. Why are they doing it? They're driven by money more than anything else. Here's a little bit of information about that. How? Take these 6 questions, write about a paragraph each on your subject. The goal here is once you get this done, you are going to try to use this as a guide to what extra research you need to do, and then use that research as the basis of an outline. Keep going on the writing process. For this time, we're doing the who, what, when, where, why questions. Go to it. As usual, I'm going to give you 24 hours from the start of class to turn this in. I recommend you let it sit for a little bit, come back to it. The more detail you get on this document, the more stuff you're going to have for that outline. And the better your outline is, the easier your draft is going to be. See you in the next video.